Listen closely, because what I'm about to share changed everything I thought I knew about existence itself. There's a truth we must understand first. Only what has no right to exist should cease to be. And I'm not talking about any living person, no matter who they are. I'm not talking about any flower that blooms or any child that's born. I'm speaking of something entirely different, something the world rarely acknowledges. We've been given the most extraordinary gift imaginable. The divine became human so that we could become divine. And with that gift came complete freedom, even the freedom to misuse it. That's the incredible power we possess. Let me tell you about something that happened to me years ago. It was an experience that revealed what truly has no right to exist. The vision. I suddenly found myself face to face with two beings. One was the most beautiful, radiant creature you could imagine, glowing with an angelic light. The other was monstrous beyond description, a grotesque, hair-covered entity that would shame any animal comparison. This creature looked at the angelic being and called her mother in the most mocking, cruel voice. I attacked the monster without hesitation. But with every blow, it grew stronger. It thrived on violence. It fed on my rage. Then the realization hit me like thunder. I had created this thing. Every cruel thought I'd ever entertained, every harmful act I'd ever committed, they had all merged into this living nightmare. I'd been completely unaware of my own creation until that moment when I was forced to confront it. The emotion that flooded through me was unlike anything I'd felt before. It was pure compassion, infinite and overwhelming. I made a silent vow, even if it took forever, I would redeem this monster. But here's what happened next. The moment I made that decision, truly decided to redeem it rather than destroy it, the entire creature began to wither. It took only seconds. This massive, terrifying thing shrank before my eyes, getting smaller and smaller until it disappeared completely. But it didn't vanish into nothing. All that energy returned to me. I felt more powerful in that instant than I'd ever felt in my life. The force that had built that monster came flooding back to where it belonged. And there stood the radiant being, the embodiment of every noble thought I'd ever had, every loving action, every wise choice. She had the right to exist. She was real and eternal, the true nature of reality. This is what awaits all of us. Everyone will eventually face their own version of this encounter. Some call it meeting your shadow. Others call it facing your demon. But it's really about confronting the consequences of how we've used the creative power within us. The scriptures say that no one can truly know the divine except through direct experience, through the Spirit of truth revealing itself from within. You can say the words, you can recite the prayers, but you don't really know until it unfolds inside you. Let me be clear about something. The sender and the sent are one. When the divine sends its spirit, it's sending itself. But this can only happen after you lose your concept of an external savior, after you stop looking outside yourself for rescue. And that's a terrifying moment. The collapse of external gods. I grew up in a deeply spiritual home. My mother believed completely in the traditional stories. She told them to us as historical facts, and we accepted them as such. We had pictures on the wall showing ancient events, dramatic scenes we thought were actual history. Then one day, I learned that these weren't historical events at all. They were eternal truths dressed in the clothing of story. They were happening inside consciousness itself, not in some distant past. My world collapsed. I felt emptiness like I'd never known. No external deity to pray to. No figure in the sky to turn to for help. Just nothing. An awful vacuum opened up inside me. But that emptiness didn't last long. Because when you lose the external concept, that's when the internal truth can finally rise. The Spirit of truth comes precisely when you stop looking outside yourself. It comes like a thief in the night, unexpected, sudden, undeniable. And then you understand the divine is not separate from you. Your own awareness, your own imagination. This is the creative power that makes worlds. The I am that you experience when you simply exist. That's it. That's the eternal name. The kingdom within. Scripture speaks of a moment when the kingdoms of this world become the kingdom of the divine and its anointed one. We always thought this meant some external revolution. But it's an internal awakening. The anointed one, the one who bears witness to your divinity, emerges from within you. It's the part of you that has experienced every role, forgiven every error, and completed the entire journey. When this happens, you realize you've been both the creator and the created all along. Consider what this means. As long as you believe in secondary causes, as long as you think other people or circumstances are responsible for your experience, you remain enslaved. But when you realize there's only one creative power, and it operates through your own consciousness, you're free. No external enemy can harm you because there are no external enemies. Everything you experience is your own creative power reflecting back to you. The second death and final birth. The physical death we all know isn't the end of anything. When you drop a 90-year-old body, you simply find yourself in a youthful one. 20 years old, healthy, vibrant, in a world that looks remarkably like this one. I've encountered people who've made this transition. They don't even realize they've died. They look in the mirror, see themselves young and vital, and think nothing unusual has happened. When you tell them they died, they think you're crazy. They're alive after all. How could they be dead? I once attended a funeral for someone I cared about deeply. 6 months later, I encountered him in a vision. He was young, strong, full of life. When I told him I'd been to his funeral, he laughed. He had no idea what I was talking about. This is why physical death changes nothing essential. If you're a thief here, you're a thief there. If you're wise here, you're wise there. Your character, your consciousness, these continue unchanged. But there's another birth that matters more. Unless you're born from above, born out of your own skull, out of the tomb of limited consciousness, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And this birth is absolutely literal. The awakening, one day, you'll feel it. It comes with a sound like rushing wind, the most unearthly sound you've ever heard. You begin to wake up and you realize you're inside your own skull. It's a tomb sealed shut, and you're fully grown inside it, alone in the darkness. Then an instinct rises in you. You know what to do. You push from within, just as a child pushes during birth. Something gives. The seal breaks. Your head emerges first, then your shoulders, then the rest of you. You pull yourself free and look back at what you've emerged from, the very skull that contained you. This is where you've been buried all along, dreaming the dream of life and thinking it was reality. Every detail of the ancient birth story happens to you in first-person, present-tense experience. And you realize the divine was buried in you all along. The divine whose name is simply I am. That's who you really are. The return home after this awakening, when you finally shed your physical body one last time, that's truly the end of the journey. No more cycles, no more returns. You merge completely with the source. But here's the beautiful part. Even before that final return, while you're still walking the earth in flesh and blood, the truth begins revealing itself. You tell people what's happened to you, and some, just a few, will look at you and see it. They'll see you as you are, both human and divine, individual and infinite. They'll know you by your ordinary name, recognize your familiar face, but simultaneously perceive that you are the divine itself. It's the strangest experience for them and for you, because you haven't changed. You're still the same person. But now the truth of what you've always been is visible. The great remembrance, the spirit of truth, is really a spirit of remembrance. When it comes, you don't learn something new. You remember what you've always known. You've always been the father of all humanity. You've just suffered from complete amnesia. Imagine looking into the face of your own child and not recognizing them. Imagine your spouse of decades being a complete stranger to you. That's the amnesia we all suffer from. Forgetting our true identity, forgetting our divine nature, forgetting that we are the creative power behind everything we experience. The Spirit brings this memory back, not through intellectual understanding, but through direct experience. You remember who you are. You remember that you've always been this. You remember that everyone else is this too, though most haven't remembered it yet. The monster and the angel. Let me return to where we began, the monster and the angel. That monstrous creation you'll one day confront. It has no right to exist because it's just misused energy. Every bit of creative power you threw away in anger, fear, hatred, or cruelty merged into that form. But it's still your energy. It still belongs to you. When you choose redemption over destruction, when compassion rises in you strong enough to say, I'll reclaim this if it takes forever, eternity collapses into a moment. The monster dissolves and every bit of that power returns to you. You'll feel it flooding back. All that strength you thought you'd lost, all that energy you thought was wasted, nothing is lost. Everything returns. And the angel, the beautiful embodiment of every loving thought, every kind action, every moment of wisdom, she was real all along. She had every right to exist. She's the proof that you used your divine power well, at least sometimes. She's the promise of what you're becoming. The final truth. In the end, there's only one being. We're all brothers and sisters in this, all aspects of the same infinite consciousness. Together, we form the complete divine. Nothing left out, nothing missing, nothing separate. When you lose your external God, don't panic. That emptiness is necessary. It won't last long. The truth will rise from within you, and you'll know with absolute certainty what all the scriptures were pointing toward. You are the divine. You always have been. You just forgot. And one day you'll remember. The invitation stands open. Come, let the awakening happen. Let the truth rise. Let the kingdom come, not from somewhere out there, but from within, where it's always been waiting. This is the journey we're all on, whether we know it or not. The question isn't whether you'll complete it. The question is only, when will you remember who you really are? May your awakening be gentle. May your remembrance be swift. May you recognize yourself in everyone you meet.